Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. How are you all today? Trash talk and bloodlust. Did you all watch this is going to be a rant, I think. I think I'm going to talk about my disgust for a certain... Well, we'll just leave it there. We'll see where it goes, all right? We'll see where it goes. Did you all watch the Tyson-Paul fight? Last night I'm driving back from dropping some stuff off to somewhere, so I'm finding my way back. I didn't watch. I've never cared much about boxing, but I did watch the replay this morning, and there's a couple of lessons in there. First off, when you get older, or if you're not as in shape as your opponent, you need to take care of business fast. We learned that on the streets, that a lot of the people that we tangled with, and back when I was on, we didn't spend, cops weren't out there running and spending time in the weight room and things like that. We spent our times in the strip joints and the bars and smoking and drinking, and yeah, I know it was a hardcore time, but we still had to win our fights on the street, and that came from being ready, from knowing what you were doing, have some experience, and a great deal of ferocity, and knowing that you had to bring that thing to a conclusion very, very quickly, because if you didn't, the last thing you wanted to be was in an ongoing altercation with somebody in unfriendly territory, and usually you were in unfriendly territory, which means that they had more of their friends around them than you had around you until your backup showed up. You needed to get it over with, and quickly. And so that there were lessons there, and that's not really what I'm going to talk about today. That's just an aside for you guys getting older. Realize if you got to do it, you got to do it fast. Get her done. So anyway, what really disgusted me, the fight didn't disgust me. I like I said, I've never been a boxing fan. I can get into that. I think it's a very destructive sport. Yes, I did train MMA fighters. It's a little bit different. Don't ask me how, but I've just seen so many people chewed up in boxing. I just don't like it. If you like it, that's okay. I just don't. Okay, I've seen it just ruin too many lives. Too many people end up with brain damage later on in life. They're treated like animals, like cattle, for the amusement of other people. And I don't like. I tell you what, I just don't like violence as amusement. I'll put it that way. And yes, I know it can be amusing to many people, and violence, if you are one who has participated in it enough, you know that violence can be addictive. I never really enjoyed wrestling. I did enjoy fighting on the streets. There's a difference for that, and I'm not saying that that's good. Okay, stay with me. We're getting to the point here, and I think a lot of people need to hear this. I'm not saying that that's good, but it's necessary. But you shouldn't look forward to it. And too many guys, when they get enough of that in them, you start looking forward to it, and that's self-destructive as well as dangerous to the world around you. So try not to do that, okay? What I found disgusting was when I read the comments below the channel that I watched it on, the fight. And they were the typical comments of people who have never done it, criticizing those who do it. All about fake fight, this, that, this, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say it was the greatest fight in the world. That's not what I'm saying. We're not even talking about the fight. We're talking about trash talking. Now, I'll say this also. Here's something else. I've never been one to trash talk. I know that there's a lot of trash talk among some types of people in the different sports. I never did it. I never wanted my people to do it. Don't tell me what you're gonna do. Just show me what you're gonna do, and then we'll see what you did. Okay? And there's no reason to get up there and and call your opponent names or anything like that. Just get out there and put it on the line, and we'll see what happens. It's kind of like the football players that like to dance in the end zone, or they catch a ball, which they're being paid millions of dollars to do, right? And they catch a ball, and they've got to jump all over the place, like, look at me, I caught the ball. I love Marcus Allen. I love Marcus Allen, one of the greatest running backs there's ever been. Did his last few years with the Chiefs, of course, is known as a Raider, but I mean, the guy made more time. He was so smooth. He'd make a touchdown, and you know what he'd do? He'd just run back and flip the ball back to the referee and go back. I think he was the one that said, "Hey, act like you've been there before." But we live in a time right now to where there are far more spectators than there are doers, and the spectators too often come to think that spectating is doing, that it is an activity of its own. It's like the people in the stands in the Coliseum, you know. And I remember, you know, times that I would be at different fights. I was ringside when Randy Carver got beat to death at Harrah's Casino in Kansas City. It was the saddest, most dehumanizing thing you can imagine seeing. I could see that Randy was in trouble. I forget what the deal was. Either he had been sick, or I don't remember what the deal was. This was a long time ago. It's back when I was publishing Grandmaster magazine, and I was ringside and I was taking pictures for the magazine, and I could see his hands were up. He wasn't defending himself, and the guy that he was fighting was an animal. A lot of cheap shots that weren't called, and I knew that. I mean, it should have been called. It should have been stopped. But people just kept roaring. The crowd kept going. They were going nuts. They were laughing. They were drinking. All these guys that had never been in a fight were out there telling them what they ought to be doing. Look at the jab. Look at that. Blah, 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 blah. All this kind of BS. And Randy didn't get it. After he finally went to the mat the last time, he never got up again. I was also there the night that, what was the guy's name? He fell out of the rafters at Kemper Arena. It was a UFC match. No, it wasn't a UFC. WWF. I think it was back before WWF became WWE. And Ken Shamrock had just signed Ken Shamrock they billed him as the most dangerous man alive or something like that. I don't know. Well, he was part of our organization trying to get pancreation back in the Olympics, and he gave us some free tickets. Matter of fact, when I brought him back, I drove him back from the airport, picked him up at the airport one day, and we were talking about it. But he gave us some free tickets to come see when the WWF was in Kansas City. So we went down there. I never cared about professional wrestling because it's fake. It's phony. I'm not going to say, I mean, those guys are tremendous athletes. So don't anybody get on here, one of you guys that never done it. You know, if you can pretty much say that anybody that comes on and trash talks in comment sections is a basement dweller who never did it. And, yeah, I wouldn't want to do what they do. I don't want to take a triple flip off the top rope and land on my back on a table. And I don't really understand. I don't understand the entertainment in that. I really don't. The false violence. You know, it's one thing to see actual violence against other people, and people who haven't seen it don't realize how dehumanizing it is. When you take people to their animalistic level, it ain't pretty. And to make a show of it, to show fake that, I just don't get it. Well, anyway, we went down there, and we were sitting there, and I looked at this packed Kemper Arena, and it was full of guys, many of them with their young sons down there, yelling and screaming, all ready for these fake fights. And the most of the guys, 99% of the guys out there probably never been in a fight, let alone a real fight. And boy, they were just all at it. And their sons were yelling. They all had their T-shirts and their signs and everything. And all of a sudden, was his name Hart? I don't remember. I could look it up, but I'm not at home. Somebody can look it up and put it in there. All of a sudden, I see somebody just boom. Something comes down out of the rafters and lands in the ring. And it took me a second to realize that it was this guy. They'd been hooking him up to some kind of harness in the rafters, and something happened. He was supposed to make this dramatic entrance into the ring, from up above, and something about the hookup didn't work, and he fell right into the ring, and man, that place just went nuts. Yay! And I could tell immediately what I could say. Okay, well, I could tell by the way he was sitting, by the way his head was, by the way his shoulder was cocked wrong. I figured he was dead. Well, it took him a long time. He laid there in the ring. I don't know how long it was. It seemed like forever. Until finally, they brought in the stretcher, covered him up, took him out. And I don't really remember if people cheered or if they, but they turned to each other and, oh my gosh, can you believe what happened? But they thought it was cool. Well, the guy died. They went ahead and finished out the the performance. So the people who have never done it, whatever it is, are always the mouthy ones, right? They're always the ones about, you just sit around any sports bar during a football game, and you'll hear all these guys yelling about, what they should have done, what they could have done. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this. Just trash talking. We live in a world of trash talking, and you know who trash talks? Trash. Really. So, it's funny, and so many of them, we hardly get any here anymore on this channel that do that. We used to have a bunch of big talkers, and when I glance at other channels' comment sections, there's big talkers all over there. Oh, I do this, and I do that, and they ought to do this, and they'd better not do that, and they did, It's just a world of phonies, to be honest. It is a world of phonies. So that's my rant for today. Don't get caught up. Ignore, not just ignore, but try to stay away from phonies. They will mislead you. They will suck you into their phoniness if you let them. And then and I'm talking to those of you who don't have experience. Those of you with experience, you wouldn't be sucked in. You're as disgusted as I am with this. But there's a lot of people out there that, don't have experience in these kinds of things. And just stay away from them. That's all I'm going to say. It's just disgusted. It's, I'm glad that I don't know anything about Jake Paul. Don't care. Never cared about Tyson. Don't care. Okay, but it is it is that dangerous sub-level bloodlust that exists within so many people who want to see others involved in violence but would never do it themselves. That is disgusting to me. So, anyway, I'm going to get out here and work today. We're going to put lights on houses. We're going to put Christmas lights on people's houses that will make them happy. And we do that to celebrate the season during which we observe the birth of the Prince of Peace. Jesus Christ. And I can only imagine what he would think of these kinds of spectacles. And the kind of people who seem to relish and get excited by watching violence done to each other. See y'all later. Bye-bye.